You ever wonder how a guy like me, a tech obsessed, number crunching nerd who'd rather debug code than deal with people, ended up building $1 million empire? Or how my biggest flaw, my absolute refusal to mess with money, turned my wife into the queen of everything, only to land me in a steaming pile of betrayal? This isn't just some sob story about cash or a marriage gone south. It's about trusting the wrong person, getting kicked in the teeth for it, and figuring out how to claw my way back to who I am. Sounds dramatic, right? Buckle up, because it's a hell of a lot wilder than you think. I'm sitting here in my home office, staring at a screen full of technical charts that'd make most people's eyes glaze over. My coffee's gone cold, sitting next to a keyboard that's seen better days. This place is my sanctuary, organized chaos with circuit boards and tech manuals stacked like a nerd's dream library. I'm a 45-year-old engineer, through and through. Always have been. I'd rather tear apart a faulty motherboard than sit through a budget meeting. But don't let the geek vibe fool you. I'm no slouch when it comes to business. I built a company from the ground up, turned it into a cash machine, and got us a nice house, some land, the whole deal. People around here call me the startup guy, but I'm the old school kind. No flashy TED Talks, just grit and late nights. I started this business 10 years ago, back when I was still tinkering in my garage. It's a tech firm, specializing in custom hardware solutions for big clients. Think industrial systems, not your average iPhone app. I was the brains behind it, designing products that solve problems nobody else could crack. We grew fast, landed contracts with companies across the states, even a few overseas. By year 5, we were pulling in 7 figures. I'm not bragging, just laying it out. I worked my ass off, and it paid. Literally. Nice cars, private schools for the kids, a cushy life. All because I knew my way around a soldering iron in a line of code. But here's the thing. My one Achilles' heel, my personal kryptonite. I hate dealing with money. Hate it. Invoices, payroll, taxes, budgets. Just the thought makes my skin crawl. I'm a problem solver, not a bean counter. Give me a busted system to fix, a client with a crazy deadline, or a prototype that needs a miracle, and I'm your guy. But ask me to balance a checkbook or review a financial statement, I'd rather shove bamboo under my nails. It's not that I'm bad with money. I'm not an idiot. I just don't care about it. Never did. To me, it's a means to an end, not the end itself. And that, my friends, is where I screwed myself. Early on, I made a choice. I handed the keys to the kingdom, every dime, every decision about the company's finances, over to my wife, Sarah. Yeah, my wife. Sounds sweet, right? Like some romantic, we're in this together crap. I thought so too back then. Sarah wasn't a business whiz. Hell, when we met, she was a college kid studying literature, all poetry and big dreams. No MBA, no finance degree, just a sharp mind and a way of charming people. I figured, why not? She's my partner, my other half. I'd handle the tech. She'd handle the boring stuff. Win-win. I trusted her completely, blindly, as it turns out. I mean, who else do you trust if not your spouse? That's what I told myself as I signed over control of the accounts, the contracts, everything. You got this, babe, I said, and I meant it. I was proud of her, proud of us. Looking back, it was so damn naive. I thought, we're a team. She's got her strengths. I've got mine. As long as we're on the same page, what could go wrong? I didn't need to micromanage. I had products to design, clients to impress, a company to grow. Sarah stepped up, took the reins, and I was free to do what I loved. It felt perfect. I'd come home from a 12-hour day, brain fried from solving some engineering puzzle, and she'd be there, handling the chaos I couldn't stand. Bills paid, employees happy, clients wined and dined. I thought I'd cracked the code to life. Focus on what you're good at, delegate the rest. Man, was I wrong. At the time, it seemed like the ultimate act of trust. I wasn't just handing her a job. I was handing her my life's work. "You're better at this than me," I'd tell her, half joking. She'd laugh, kiss me, and say, "Don't worry, I'll keep the lights on." And she did, for a while. I didn't see the cracks forming, didn't notice how the ground was shifting under me. I was too busy being the genius engineer, the guy who could fix anything, except apparently his own marriage. That decision, that moment when I said, "Here, you take it," was the first domino, and once it fell, there was no stopping the chain reaction. Want to know how it all went to hell? Stick around, because this story's about to get real ugly. So, I handed Sarah the keys to my empire, thinking I'd just scored the ultimate life hack. Focus on tech, let her deal with the money, and we'd both live happily ever after. Yeah, right. Ever have one of those moments where you look back and want to slap your younger self? That's me right now, sitting in my office, staring at a half-dead plant and wondering how I didn't see the storm coming. Let me take you through how my wife went from college sweetheart to the queen of my company and how the first cracks in my perfect plans started showing up. Spoiler, it's not pretty. At first, Sarah took to her new role like a fish to water. I mean, she went from quoting Shakespeare to signing contracts faster than I could debug a circuit. Within a year, she was running the show, approving budgets, hiring staff, even schmoozing clients at fancy dinners I'd rather die than attend. She had this knack for making people feel important. Like she'd flash that smile, toss out a witty one-liner, and boom, the room was hers. I'd hear her on the phone, all confident, saying stuff like, "Don't worry, we'll deliver on time." And I'd think, damn, I married a badass. She wasn't just keeping the lights on, she was turning our company into a machine. People started calling her the boss, and I'd laugh it off. Like, yeah, she's the one who makes it all look easy. Meanwhile, I was in the lab, tweaking designs, flying to meet overseas partners, doing the nerd stuff I loved. It felt like we were unstoppable. But then things started getting extravagant. Sarah's spending went from practical to straight up Real Housewives territory. I'm talking $3,000, handbags, $500, sunglasses, shoes that cost more than my first car. She'd come home with these glossy shopping bags, grinning like a kid on Christmas, and I'd just shrug. If it makes you happy, I'd say, because, well, we had the money, right? My company was raking it in. $2 million in revenue last year alone. She'd jet off for business trips that looked more like vacations. One month, it was California, sipping wine in Napa Valley. The next, Tokyo, staying in some swanky hotel with a view of the skyline. Then Australia, because why not? She'd post these Instagram pics, all glamorous, captioned like, "Work hard, play hard." I didn't mind at first. I was proud, My wife was living the dream, and I was the one making it happen. But here's where it got weird. The more she became the boss, the more I started feeling like, well, an employee. I built this company, poured my soul into it, but suddenly, I was the guy asking her for money. Need $10,000 for a new prototype? I'd have to go, "Hey, Sarah, can you approve the funds? Want to buy our kid a new bike? Babe, can you transfer me a couple hundred?" It was humiliating, like I was a teenager begging for allowance. I'd stand there, swallowing my pride, while she'd sigh, or make some offhand comment like, "You're always spending on your toys." My toys? That's the tech that keeps this whole operation running. I'd bite my tongue, tell myself it wasn't worth a fight, but deep down, it stung. Ever had someone make you feel small in your own world? That's what it was like. Every damn time. I tried to brush it off, focus on my work. But the dynamic had shifted, and not in a good way. Sarah wasn't just managing the money, she was owning it. She'd sign off on everything, from office leases to client deals, without even looping me in. One time, I found out she'd hired a new marketing team, $50,000 a year, because I overheard her talking about it at a company party. I was like, "Wait, when did we decide this?" She just waved me off like, Oh, you were busy. I handled it. Handled it? This was my company. I felt like a guest in my own life, tiptoeing around the Queen's throne. Then came the gut punch that woke me up. I was going through our bank statements one night, not because I wanted to, but because a client payment was late, and I needed to check the numbers. That's when I saw it. A $20,000 withdrawal, labeled personal loan. I froze. 20 grand? To who? I asked Sarah about it the next morning, trying to keep it casual. Hey, what's this big transfer about? Her face tightened just for a second before she shrugged. Oh, I lent it to my friend Lisa. She's starting a boutique. Needed a boost. I blinked. You lent $20,000 without telling me? She rolled her eyes like I was overreacting. It's fine. She'll pay it back. You're always so paranoid. Paranoid? This wasn't about the money. Hell, we could afford it. It was the principle. She didn't even think to ask me, the guy who earned every penny of that cash. It was like my opinion didn't matter, like I was just the engine, not the driver. I pushed back, said, Sarah, you can't just do that. It's our money, not yours. She snapped, well, I'm the one managing it, so maybe trust me for once. Trust her? That's all I'd been doing, and now I was starting to feel like a damn fool. That moment stuck with me, like a splinter you can't dig out. I started noticing other things, little comments, like how she'd talk about her company in front of friends, or how she'd interrupt me when I tried to weigh in on business stuff. You stick to your gadgets, let me handle the real work, she'd say, half joking, but not really. I'd laugh it off, but inside, it was eating at me. Ever trusted someone so much you ignored the red flags? That was me, convincing myself it was all in my head, that we were still a team. Looking back, that $20,000 loan was the first real crack in the foundation. It wasn't just about the cash. It was about respect, or the lack of it. I'd given her everything, my trust, my life's work, my future, and she was starting to act like it was all hers. I didn't know it then, but that was just the beginning. Things were about to get a whole lot uglier, and I was nowhere near ready for the fallout. Want to know how bad it got? Hang on, because the next part's a doozy. You ever feel like you're living in someone else's story? Like you built the stage, wrote the script, but somehow ended up as a side character? That's where I was, staring at my life and wondering how the hell I let it get this far. Sarah had gone from my partner to the queen of my empire, and I was starting to feel like the hired help. The $20,000 she lent to her friend without asking me? That was just the opening act. Things were about to get way uglier, and I was about to hit my breaking point. Let me walk you through the moment I realized I couldn't keep swallowing my pride, and how I decided to fight back. Buckle up, because this is where it gets raw. By now, Sarah was in full boss lady mode. She wasn't just managing the company, she was living like she owned it outright. I'd built this business from a garage workbench to a 7-figure operation, but you'd never know it from how she acted. She'd strut into meetings, all designer heels and confidence, while I was in the back, tweaking prototypes or Skyping with clients in Germany. People stopped asking for me. They went straight to her. Where's Sarah? They'd say, like I was just the tech guy. I'd grit my teeth and let it slide, telling myself it didn't matter who got the spotlight as long as the company thrived. But man, it was starting to feel like I was invisible in my own damn life. Then Sarah's lifestyle took another leap. She started hanging out with this new crowd, rich types, the kind who play golf on weekdays and talk about investments over $200 bottles of wine. She'd come home raving about her new hobby, golf. It's networking, she'd say, tossing her new $1,500 clubs in the corner. Networking? My ass. It was an excuse to rub elbows with people who made me feel like a relic. These weren't tech folks. They were the private jet to Aspen crowd. And Sarah was eating it up. She'd drag me to their cocktail parties, where I'd stand there, nursing a beer, while she laughed too loud at some hedge fund guy's joke. I'd try to chime in, talk about my latest project, but her friends would just nod politely, like I was the weird uncle who wouldn't shut up about his stamp collection. The worst part? She started comparing me to them. It was subtle at first. Little digs that stung like paper cuts. You know, Mark just bought a beach house in Malibu, she'd say, or Tom's taking his wife to Paris for their anniversary. I'd nod like, good for them. But inside, I was seething. What did she expect me to do? Trade my oscilloscope for a Rolex and start day trading? I was the one keeping our company alive, flying to Shenzhen to fix supply chain issues while she sipped martinis with her new pals. But to her, I was starting to look like the guy who wasn't keeping up. You could dress a little sharper, she'd say, eyeing my faded jeans. Or, maybe if you networked more, we'd be bigger by now. Bigger? We were clearing $2.5 million a year. What the hell was she chasing? It wasn't just her words, it was her attitude. Sarah started getting sharp, snappy, like I was an annoyance instead of her husband. I'd come home after a 14-hour day, wanting to crash with a book or play with our kids, and she'd be on my case. Why don't you ever take me out anymore? She'd snap, like I was slacking. Or she'd roll her eyes when I talked about work, saying, "Can we not talk about circuits for once?" Circuits? That's what paid for her $5,000 spa weekends. I'd try to keep the peace, but it was like arguing with a brick wall. One night, I asked her to cut back on the spending. She'd just dropped $10,000 on a consultant for some vague branding project, and she lost it. "You're so controlling," she yelled. Controlling? Me? The guy who gave her the keys to everything? I was stunned. When did I become the bad guy? The fights got uglier. She'd throw my work in my face like it was a flaw. "All you do is tinker in your lab," she'd say. "You're not a leader." Not a leader. I built this company from nothing. I was the one who landed our first $500,000 contract, who stayed up nights perfecting designs while she was still in college. But now, I was just the nerd who didn't get her new world. The disrespect was blatant. She'd interrupt me in front of the kids, talk over me like I was invisible. One time, I was helping our son with his science project, explaining how circuits work, and she cut in, "God, can you not bore everyone?" The kids laughed, but I felt like I'd been slapped. Who was this woman? Where was the Sarah I married? The one who used to stay up late listening to me ramble about tech? It hit me hardest at home. I'd always been the hands-on dad. Homework, soccer games, bedtime stories. But now, I felt like a ghost in my own house. Sarah would breeze in, all glamorous, and the kids would flock to her, excited about her stories of fancy trips or new gadgets she'd bought them. I'd be sitting there, the guy who paid for it all, feeling like a prop. Ever poured your heart into something only to have it taken for granted? That was me, every day. I started wondering, who am I in this family? The provider, the ATM? Because I sure as hell wasn't feeling like a husband or a father anymore. The breaking point came one sleepless night. I was lying in bed, Sarah snoring softly beside me, and I couldn't shake this gnawing feeling. I'd given her everything, my trust, my work, my future, and she'd turned it into a throne for herself. She wasn't just disrespecting me, she was erasing me. I thought about the $20,000 loan, the snide comments, the way she'd made me feel small. And I realized something. I wasn't just losing control of my company. I was losing myself. I'd spent years being the good guy, the trusting husband, the team player. And for what? To be treated like a doormat? That night, I made a decision. No more. I wasn't going to keep playing the fool. This company, my company, was my blood, sweat, and tears. I'd built it from a pipe dream to a powerhouse, and I'd be damned if I let it slip away. I didn't care if I hated managing money or dealing with people. I was done handing over my power. Sarah thought she was untouchable, but she forgot one thing. I was the one who made it all possible. I knew the tech, the clients, the partners. Without me, there was no empire, and I was ready to remind her of that. The anger was like a fire in my chest, but it wasn't just rage. It was clarity. I'd been too trusting, too naive, thinking love meant giving up control, but love doesn't mean letting someone walk all over you. I wasn't just fighting for my company, I was fighting for my dignity, my place in the world. The old me would have let it slide, kept the peace, but that guy was gone. I was ready to take back what was mine. Oh, no matter what it cost. Want to know how I did it? Stick around, because the next move was a game changer. I'd had enough. Lying awake that night, staring at the ceiling while Sarah slept like nothing was wrong, I felt something snap inside me. For years, I'd let her run the show, handed her my life's work on a silver platter, and what did I get? Disrespect, snide remarks, and a front row seat to her transformation into someone I barely recognized. My company, my sweat, my soul. It was all slipping through my fingers, and I was done playing the fool. It was time to take back what was mine. No more say, oh, Mr. Nice Geek. This was war, and I was ready to burn it all down if I had to. Let me tell you how I flipped the script on Sarah's reign and why the victory tasted so damn bitter. First things first, I wasn't stupid. I'd built this company from a garage to a $2.50 million a year powerhouse. I knew every nut, bolt, and line of code that kept it running. Sarah might have been the face of the operation, charming clients and signing checks, but I was the engine. Without me, there was no product, no innovation, no deals with the big dogs in Germany or Japan. I had the expertise, the relationships, the reputation, and most importantly, I was the legal owner. My name was on every contract, every patent, every share. Sarah thought she was the queen, but I held the real power. She just didn't know it yet. I didn't waste time. The next morning, I called my lawyer, a guy I'd known since my startup days. I need to lock things down, I told him, keeping my voice low so Sarah wouldn't hear. He didn't ask questions, just got to work. Step one was the bank accounts. I had Sarah's name removed from every company account by noon. Personal accounts, same deal. I wasn't cruel about it. I left her access to a joint account with enough for her to get by. But the days of her treating my money like her personal ATM were over. Step two was the paperwork. I had my lawyer draft new documents, stripping her from any official role in the company. She'd been listed as a co-director, a title I'd given her out of trust. Big mistake. Now, it was gone. By the end of the week, she had zero control over the business. Legally, she was a bystander. Then came the tech. I changed every password, every access code, every login for our systems. Sarah didn't know the first thing about our servers or software. She'd never bothered to learn. I locked her out of the company's cloud, the client database, even the damn Wi-Fi in the office. If she wanted to play boss, she'd have to do it without the keys. I also reached out to our top clients, the ones I'd personally worked with for years. Just a heads up, I told them, I'm taking a more hands-on role. Any questions? Come to me. They didn't blink. They knew who the real brains were. Sarah's charm might have opened doors, but my work kept them coming back. When I finally dropped the hammer, it was almost too easy. I waited until Friday, when Sarah was at one of her golf networking sessions. I walked into the office, my office, and called an all-staff meeting. Sarah wasn't invited. I laid it out plain. I'm back in charge. Any decisions, any checks, any plans, they go through me now. The team just nodded. Most of them had been with me since the early days. They knew who built this place. When Sarah got back, she walked into a different world. Her office key didn't work. Her email was disabled. She stormed up to me, face red, demanding, "What the hell is this?" I looked her dead in the eye and said, "This is my company. You're done calling the shots." Her jaw dropped, like she couldn't believe I had the guts. For the first time in years, I saw her flinch. The queen had just been dethroned. You'd think I'd feel like a king, right? Like I just won the Super Bowl of revenge. But here's the kicker. It felt hollow. I'd spent years dreaming of taking back control, but now that I had it, all I could think about was what I'd lost. This wasn't just about the company. It was about us, about the woman I'd loved, the family we'd built, the life I thought we'd share. Watching Sarah's face crumple, seeing her realize she'd been cut out, didn't make me feel powerful. It made me feel like I'd just blown up my own house to prove a point. Sure, I'd won the battle. But at what cost? Things got messier from there. That night, Sarah came at me, tears and all. "How could you do this?" she sobbed. "After everything I've done for us?" Done for us? I almost laughed. "You mean the $3,000 handbags, the golf trips, the way you treated me like your errand boy?" I shot back. The fight went on for hours, the kids hiding upstairs while we tore into each other. She called me controlling, ungrateful. I called her entitled, disrespectful. It was ugly, the kind of fight that leaves scars you can't see. Then came the real twist. A week later, Sarah hit me with it. She wanted a divorce. "I'm done," she said, slamming a stack of papers on the kitchen table. "I want half of everything." Half? After she'd spent years treating my work like her personal piggy bank, I didn't even blink. "Fine," I said. "Let's do it." I grabbed a pen, ready to sign right there. I'd give her the house, the cars, whatever, anything to be done with this mess. But then the weirdest thing happened. She wouldn't sign. I pushed the papers toward her, and she just stared at them, eyes glassy, hands shaking. "What's the holdup?" I asked. She didn't answer, just walked away. I was floored. Was this about the money? The kids? Or, craziest thought, did she still want me? I couldn't wrap my head around it. After everything, why wouldn't she just end it? That moment stuck with me like a glitch I couldn't debug. I'd taken back my company, my power, but I was left with this gnawing question. What now? The victory was supposed to feel good, but all I felt was empty. I'd learned the hard way. Never hand over your life to anyone, not even the person you love most. People change. Money changes them. Power changes them. Sarah wasn't the college girl I'd fallen for. She was someone else now. Someone I didn't know. And maybe I'd changed too. The trusting, naive geek who thought love meant giving up control, he was gone. In his place was a guy who'd fight for what was his, even if it meant breaking his own heart. I won the war, but it cost me everything I thought I was fighting for. Want to know what happened next? Stick around, because the aftermath is where it gets real. Here I am, 45, sitting at a crossroads that feels like it's make or break. My office is quiet tonight, just the hum of my computer and a lukewarm beer on the desk. I took back my company, kicked Sarah off her throne, and thought it'd feel like a win. But instead, I'm staring at the wreckage of 20 years of marriage, wondering what the hell happiness even means anymore. The kids are upstairs, probably on their phones, oblivious to how close their world is to splitting apart. Do I walk away from Sarah for good, stay for the kids? Or chase something new? Something real? Let me lay it out. This is where I'm at, and I need you to tell me what you think, because I'm lost. After I took back the company, Sarah and I were like strangers sharing a house. She'd wanted a divorce, demanded half of everything, but when I agreed, she froze. Wouldn't sign the papers. That threw me. Was she holding out for more money? Scared of losing the kids? Or, and this messes with my head, does she still love me in some twisted way? I don't know. We barely talk now. Mornings are silent, just coffee brewing and the kids rushing out the door. Nights, I'm in my office. She's in the living room, the TV blaring some reality show. This isn't a marriage, it's a stalemate. And at 45, I'm asking myself, is this it? Is this what the rest of my life looks like? I'm tired, man. Bone deep tired. Not just from the fight with Sarah, but from carrying everything, building the company, raising the kids, trying to be the guy who holds it together. I look at my life, the big house, the bank account, and it feels like a hollow trophy. What's the point of all this if I'm coming home to a cold bed and a colder shoulder? I used to think happiness was building something, solving problems, seeing my designs come to life. Now, I'm not so sure. Maybe it's quieter than that. A hand to hold, someone who gets you, not just your paycheck. But does that even exist for a guy like me? A tech nerd who'd rather tinker with circuits than sweet talk at a bar? I think about the kids, 16 and 13, and my gut twists. Divorce would gut them. They love their mom, even if she's been more absent lately, chasing her golf buddies and networking. If I leave, will they hate me? Will they think I broke the family? But staying feels like signing up for a life sentence of misery. I want to be a good dad, the guy who's there for science fairs and late night talks, but how do I do that when I'm barely holding myself together? I catch myself wondering what they'd say if I asked them. Dad, why don't you smile anymore? That's a question I'm not ready to answer. Then there's this other thought, one I'm almost scared to admit. Could I start over? At 45, is there a woman out there who'd want a guy like me? Not the millionaire, not the startup guy, but me, the guy who geeks out over tech manuals and forgets to iron his shirts. I don't want someone chasing my wallet like Sarah did when the money started rolling in. I want real. Someone who'd laugh at my dumb jokes, sit with me over a cheap pizza, and not care that I'm more comfortable in a lab than a penthouse. But is that a pipe dream? I haven't dated since college. The idea of swiping on some app makes me want to hide under my desk. So here's where I'm stuck. Do I try to fix things with Sarah, swallow my pride, and hope she'll change? Do I cut the cord, take the hit, and start fresh? Or do I just keep going, numb it out, and pretend this is fine? I'm not asking for pity. I made my bed, trusted too much, and paid the price. But I'm asking for perspective. What would you do if you've been through this? Betrayal, heartbreak, the whole mess. What got you through? Drop it in the comments because I'm reading every one. I need to know there's a light at the end of this tunnel because right now, it's feeling pretty damn dark.